The mark of the beast is one of the most feared concepts in human history. For centuries, it has been used to incite panic, control behavior, and predict doom. Entire generations have lived in terror of accidentally receiving it. Countless theories have labeled everything from credit cards to microchips as the mark. But here is what most people miss. The Bible never intended this prophecy to cause fear. In fact, understanding what the mark actually represents removes the terror entirely. What if we have misunderstood it all along? The confusion around the mark of the beast is understandable. Revelation is symbolic, apocalyptic, written in a style unfamiliar to modern readers, and over the centuries, interpretations have multiplied. Some have claimed the mark is a physical stamp. Others say it is a technology. A few have even suggested it could be received unknowingly, condemning people who never intended to rebel against God. But these interpretations share a common flaw. They prioritize fear over understanding. So let us set aside the speculation. Let us examine what Revelation actually says, not what someone told you it means, not what a sensational documentary claimed, but what the text itself reveals. Because when we read it carefully, the mark of the beast becomes less mysterious and far more meaningful than most imagine. The mark of the beast appears in Revelation chapter 13. The passage describes a beast rising from the earth, performing great signs, deceiving the inhabitants of the world, and causing all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. Without this mark, no one can buy or sell, and the mark itself is identified as the name of the beast or the number of its name. 666. That is what the text says. No mention of microchips, no reference to credit cards or barcodes, no indication that the mark will be invisible or accidental. The passage is clear. This is a deliberate mark, tied to allegiance, worship, and economic participation. Those who receive it do so knowingly. Those who refuse it face persecution. And the choice between receiving or rejecting it is presented as a test of loyalty. But here is where interpretation begins. Is this mark literal or symbolic? Is it a physical object, or does it represent something deeper? And why does Revelation emphasize the forehead and the hand? Throughout Scripture, marks, seals, and signs carry profound meaning. They are not random. They signify ownership, identity, and allegiance. In Exodus, God commands the Israelites to bind His commandments as a sign on their hand and as frontlets between their eyes. This was not literal, it was symbolic. It meant that God's law should govern their actions and their thoughts. Similarly, in Ezekiel, God places a mark on the foreheads of those who grieve over the abominations in Jerusalem, protecting them from judgment. In Revelation itself, believers are sealed on their foreheads with the name of God and the Lamb. These seals are not physical tattoos. They represent divine ownership and spiritual identity. So when Revelation speaks of a mark on the forehead or hand, it is using established biblical imagery. The forehead represents the mind, thought, belief, worldview. The hand represents action, what one does, how one lives, economic participation. Together, they symbolize total allegiance. The mark of the beast, then, is not just a physical object. It is a sign of complete alignment with a system that opposes God. But what does that mean practically? How does one receive this mark, and why does it matter where it is placed? The forehead and the hand are deliberate choices. The forehead symbolizes what you believe, what you accept as truth, what shapes your understanding of reality. To receive the mark on the forehead means to adopt the ideology of the beast, to embrace its claims, to internalize its values. It is a mental and spiritual submission. The hand symbolizes what you do, how you participate, what systems you support through action. To receive the mark on the hand means to engage economically, politically, and socially with the beast's system, to trade within it, to benefit from it, to align your behavior with its demands. This is not accidental. Revelation does not describe people waking up one day and discovering they have been marked without their knowledge. The mark is a choice, a conscious decision to align with the beast's authority instead of God's. And that distinction changes everything. Because if the mark is about allegiance, then the fear of accidentally receiving it is unfounded. You cannot accidentally worship something. You cannot unknowingly pledge your loyalty. The mark is not a trick, it is a test, and the test is simple. Who will you follow? So let us address the myths directly. The mark of the beast is not a barcode, it is not a vaccine, it is not a credit card or a microchip. These things may be technologies that enable surveillance or control, but they are not the mark itself. Why? Because none of them require worship. None of them demand allegiance to a system that denies God, and none of them place themselves in opposition to divine authority. The mark is not something you receive by accident. It is not given to the ignorant or the unwilling. Revelation makes it clear that those who take the mark do so in exchange for participation in the beast's economy. They choose it, they accept it, and they do so knowing that it represents alignment with a power structure that opposes God. This is crucial, because fear-based interpretations often suggest that people could be tricked into damnation, that a single wrong transaction, a misunderstood technology, or an unknowing submission could condemn someone forever. But that contradicts the nature of God. Scripture repeatedly emphasizes free will, conscious choice, and intentional rebellion. The mark is not a trap, it is a declaration, and that brings us to the heart of the matter: worship. Revelation 13 does not just describe a mark, it describes a system of worship. The beast demands allegiance, it requires submission, and those who refuse face persecution, exclusion, and economic hardship. The mark, then, is the visible sign of that submission. It is proof that someone has chosen to worship the beast instead of God. This is why the forehead and the hand matter, because worship is not just what you believe, it is what you do. It is how you live. It is where you place your trust, your resources, and your identity. The mark represents the totality of that choice: mind and action, thought and deed, a complete alignment with a system that sets itself against divine authority. And here is what most people miss. This is not new. Humanity has always faced this choice. Every generation has been confronted with systems, ideologies, and powers that demand loyalty, empires that require worship, structures that promise security in exchange for submission. The mark of the beast is the ultimate expression of that choice. But the choice itself is ancient. So why does Revelation emphasize it? Because in the end times, the choice will be unavoidable. There will be no neutral ground, no compromise position, no way to serve two masters. The beast will demand total allegiance, and believers will be forced to decide: will they comply or will they resist? But here is the reassurance. Those who understand this are not caught off guard. Those who recognize the choice can prepare, and those who have already placed their trust in God will not be deceived, because the mark is not a trick, it is a test, and the answer is not hidden. Fear misses the point entirely. Revelation was not written to terrify believers. It was written to prepare them, to reveal the patterns of opposition, to expose the strategies of deception, and to remind them that no matter how powerful the beast appears, it is still subject to God's authority. The mark may grant economic access, but it seals eternal separation, and those who refuse it may suffer temporarily, but they are marked by God for redemption. This is why fear-based interpretations are so damaging. They turn prophecy into paranoia. They make believers obsess over technology instead of focusing on faithfulness. They create anxiety where there should be clarity, and they distort the purpose of revelation, which is not to frighten, but to fortify. So here is the final revelation. The mark of the beast is not about being tricked. It is not about technology. It is not something you stumble into unknowingly. It is a conscious choice to align with a system that denies God and demands worship. It is the ultimate test of allegiance. And for those who understand this, there is no reason to fear, because the mark is not the danger. The danger is losing sight of what matters. The danger is prioritizing comfort over conviction. The danger is compromising truth for convenience, and the mark is simply the visible sign of that compromise. But those who choose God, those who refuse to bow, refuse to comply, refuse to trade their faith for survival, they are not condemned. They are sealed, not with the mark of the beast, but with the seal of the living God. And that seal is permanent, unshakable, and eternal. So do not fear the mark. Understand it. Recognize it for what it is. And when the time comes to choose, choose clearly, because the mark is not a mystery. It is a question, and the answer has always been the same. Whom will you worship? If this brought clarity, you need to see the rest of the story. Why God doesn't destroy Satan explains why evil is allowed to persist and what purpose it serves in the larger plan. The story of Lucifer, from glory to the curse, reveals the first rebellion and how it set the pattern for all opposition to God. And the prophecy, no one can explain. Jesus was right connects the signs of the times to the very moment we are living in. Subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell, because the mysteries we are uncovering are not meant to frighten, they are meant to prepare, and every episode brings deeper understanding. Leave a comment below. What part of the mark of the beast have you heard that confused you? What interpretations have you encountered that created fear? We want to hear your perspective. The next episode will reveal something even more profound, a question believers have asked for centuries, a mystery that touches the very nature of God's justice, and an answer that will challenge everything you thought you understood. The veil is lifting, and the truth is more reassuring than the fear ever was.